How to Save a Human Race, Chapter 5. Welcome. In this chapter, where are we going for the future? Well, that's what this is about. Saving the human race is about where we are going in the future. And I think towards the end of last century, we realized that our fuel sources were unsustainable for the future, and we'll have to turn to some other fuel sources. In particular, I believe that we went in the wrong direction in terms of power, looking to nuclear as a source of power, and it is not a stable or sustainable source. The waste from nuclear energy, nuclear products, is disgraceful, and there's nothing that can be done to that waste, and it has to be packaged up and stored until it starts to transform into a more stable state. But the waste is toxic and untouchable for hundreds of years. Now, you can't let that kind of power and waste get all over the planet, which is the risk we take every time we set up a nuclear energy power station. So let's move on from that for sure. But that power source is not the right direction. What I believe is the right direction is through an inner or a micro, macro, or macro source where we transfer things across dimensions. So it's a dimensional approach, but not actually making any chain reactions with atoms or whatever. That's the wrong direction. We have to go the opposite direction from that. And looking at the speed of light and transferring through light. So I think there's a pathway there. And it's all the source. So light and sunlight is one of the major sources. But the other thing that's going to save us, apart from moving on to using sustainable energy sources, is saving the oxygen on our planet from disintegration. I don't see us transforming into half robots in the future and living on a planet which has no trees, because I don't think that life could be sustained. And I think that we need to keep our greenery and our photosynthesis happening all over the planet as much as we can. We need to increase the amount of greenery and the amount of photosynthesis, but I think we could just equally use what's already available, such as the phytoalgae in the oceans, and start making more use of that everywhere, especially even to clean our air. Like at the moment, I don't know about you, but I'm not too thrilled about air conditioning systems that just pump through the smog into the building, and they don't really add anything. It may be a little bit of a scent or something, but anyway, the air from outside or recirculating the air that's already inside doesn't refill the air with more oxygen. And what we need to do in our air conditioning units is to figure out the technology which is able to add oxygen to our air conditioned air, so that we sort of can stay inside as long as we want and not need to go outside to get more oxygenated air. I hate going into enclosed spaces with air conditioning, because I know that I'm just breathing in the same air with this not being re-oxygenated. We need to re-oxygenate all of our air as frequently as possible, in my opinion, and we're going to figure out how to do that. But we're making leaps and jumps in our medical technology. Even without the aliens, I think we're making progress. And it's leaps and bounds. There's more new technologies that I don't know about, which I can't tell you about. But the direction we need to go in is through the natural therapies and the natural healing pathways. We need to completely exploit all of those and commodify those and change our medical system from the current system, because a lot of medicine uses old and very barbaric practices. I believe that trying to cure leukemia, for example, by taking out your bone marrow and replacing it with your blown bone marrow, your blood, or whatever they do, taking it out and chopping out cancers, and that whole approach isn't the right approach to me. I think that we don't need to chop these faulty things out. We need to transform them while they're still inside our body, and you can do that using natural therapies. So I'm interested in that sort of stuff. Continuing on, the work of people like Barbara O'Neill is really significant, amazing, and important. In some of her free lectures, she gets a little bit into the iffy-wiffy, but most of her stuff is really solid, and I think it's brilliant, and we should just make textbooks and circulate them around out of her lectures alone. She's brilliant to me. If there's a herbal or home remedy that you can use for just about any ailment, why the hell wouldn't you? Why would you even go to ask a doctor for a pharmaceutical cure? You should just try doing a search on Barbara O'Neill's wisdoms and use her remedies for everything. I think Barbara O'Neill is a guru, and she is who we should follow, and taking the natural approach at all times if we possibly can, because these natural approaches do actually work, and Barbara has been documenting them all. So that's excellent. But we can't forget that there are also psychosomatic cures for some things, which don't even require a herbal remedy. It might just require a change in your mindset, a change in focusing, or a review of your emotional worries, and sorting out your emotional worries, which incredibly cures your physical problem. The fact that we always used to rush to the doctor with any tiny little ailment at all times shows that we were sort of conditioning our community to be a little bit dumb and to suck them into the pharmaceutical world, making people dependent on medicine and the pharmaceutical world, because in the future there may not be the access to medicine that we have at the moment, and there may be a lot of isolated people or a lack of medicine. So it's important that we start to strengthen our minds and make the knowledge of medicine that is already in existence common, and sharing it around and getting these remedies well known, so that they can be readily used. The whole area of massage and acupressure and acupuncture is extremely exciting to me. Acupressure is incredible, the way that it can cure a problematic physical condition that you may suffer. There's remedies, acupuncture and acupressure remedies for just about every ailment. Now, this is going into the realms of new medicine and new age medicine, and the new age medicine to me is extremely exciting and promising, where we're doing pranic rebalancing of the auric field using our own palm chakras, our own energy, just getting control of our own energy to heal internal problems and physical conditions ourselves. So that is amazing. That should be being circulated. That knowledge should be circulated to everyone, as should, a lot of information about how to maintain self-discipline in challenging situations. The self-discipline of not freaking out when you start to feel a condition coming on. Like, if we could help people to use coaches more and train them up in this self-calming techniques, cognitive adjustment techniques, then in those challenging situations like heart attack and stroke, they could be less damaged by those events if they can, instruct themselves to react less, not panic as much, and all of that. So these techniques are all important in finding cures and preventing major medical problems. I use my palm chakras often, just to rebalance any areas of discomfort and pain. But I'm also using my palm chakras, working on some internal issues that I have, and some tumors which I want to move on. So I guess I use my own energy, and I'm able to control myself in very difficult situations. When I come across them, I've come across the feelings that I might have had a heart attack and managed to calm myself down. I've come across the experience of thinking that the severe headache I was having may turn up into a stroke, and I managed to talk myself through that challenging situation. So these are like little skills, and not everybody even tries to figure them out, or not everybody even knows about them. And most people who go into those experiences would go into a state of panic, and panic is not helpful when you're facing something difficult. Speaking of panic, I think that now is a time that we should be trying very hard to start working on the alternative sources of natural energy that we can easily make. I've just sourced a couple of YouTube videos recently showing how to get electricity to provide light, like to power a light globe through a glass of water and a little bit of wire. So how's that? If it's that easy, what the hell are we thinking? We cannot afford to do nuclear anything. We need to get the idea of pursuing nuclear energy out of our minds completely. We need to use less energy rather than going for something which is going to provide us masses of energy and be this like unlimited source, this infinite dream, because it's a unicorn daydream to me. It's a fantasy that nuclear power is safe and suitable. It is not safe or suitable, and we should just forget it completely. I'm not studying this myself now, and there must be someone out there who does, but I really feel that we should be able to get some kind of energy source out of light. So, when we do create a bit of light with the glass of water and the light bulb and the cord, maybe there's a secondary source of power we can gain using the light that we create. So, the sunshine, the light that we experience on Earth is a source not just for solar power. I think there's a secondary source, but I don't know enough about these things to investigate it myself. But I think that we're kidding ourselves if we ever go in the direction of nuclear and creating that atom splitting reaction. It's just not safe, and the byproducts we know are so dirty, and they'll ruin our environment for thousands of years. And if we ever kept on going down that pathway, we could just destroy the whole planet in a world nuclear war, which no one wants to happen. No, nuclear, it's sort of like, I don't know, it's like the ultimate ridiculous overextension. It's the wrong direction. We have to go back to being more simple, and our sources of energy to be less complex now. And we also have to give people the education so that they can all create their own energy sources at home with easily accessible products. It's a very exciting area, looking at the potential of algae in the marine world to provide power and help us oxygenate the planet. I think that has got to happen. We've got to increase the oxygenation of the air and prevent the deoxygenation of the air, the filling up with carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, because that's going to kill us all. So if we can just make it mandatory that when you build a house, you have to have an internal terrarium built as part of the design, and you have to apply all the water saving features, and you have to have a water tank, and make all these mandatory rules about building stuff. That'd be cool. But to have a law that everyone has to have house plants would be nice. And if you have a certain amount of land that you own, then you also have a responsibility to also keep a certain number of endangered animals on your land, like putting the responsibility onto people who actually own land, that they have to also pay back to the environment by looking after endangered species on their properties. Land care for wildlife, or whatever it is, the Land for Wildlife program. That's not a compulsory thing, but this is some of the things that, if I was in charge of the whole world, that's what I'd put in place. This kind of like meeting your responsibility, not just buying land and building skyscrapers and bulldozing all the trees away. You have to have some responsibility, mature responsibility for the future of the world. So I think we've looked at a couple more things in this chapter, and there is hope. If we just use our heads, I think we'll still survive. If we deter from the use of nuclear and the pursuit of robotics to the extreme that's around at the moment, we should be alright. We need to go back to doing the simple things, getting along with each other, and making new rules. Like the new rules stuff is really exciting. That's where it's at. New rules and the new ways of making rules.